A kiss of the hand may be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. A kiss may be grand, but it won't pay the rental on your humble flat, or help you at the automat. Men grow cold as girls grow old, and we all lose our charms in the end. But square cut or pear shape, these rocks don't lose their shape. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Tiffany's, Cartier, Black Star, Ross, Gora. Talk to me, Harry Winston, tell me all about it.
So welcome to Hello Future Buzz. It's July 20th, 2023, and we're very happy to welcome Diamon Standard here to talk about tokenizing assets and diamonds in particular. So I'd like to welcome AltMom as our co-host. Jerry and Sarah are here as speakers, all the way from Australia. Good morning, Friday morning for you. And we have Fredo here, who's a regular with us but building on Brash Labs. Welcome, Nishiva and Kat, to Hello Future Buzz.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be here. We're really excited and appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Well, let's get started. And this is the first time that you've been on Twitter Spaces, so welcome to Twitter Spaces. Would you like to tell the community a little bit about Diamon Standard and where your business is at? We'll start with that.
In fact, I'd love to kind of walk you through a little bit of the steps because there's a lot of little different layers to it, and it's really a fun story. The story actually started out about 5 years ago, and in concept, really as a foundational building block of trying to bring diamonds really to the financial world and the commodity world. And that's a little trickier than some people realize because diamonds are unique. They're non-linear. There's a lot of factors that go into how they're valued. And so that's made a lot of friction and a lot of confusion sometimes as far as, figuring out a way to standardize them to bring them into kind of a similar space like a precious metal, like gold or silver or platinum. And so what we sought out to do was first put patents in place to protect the intellectual property, but then also have regulatory approval, which was very important for us. So after putting those in place, we sought out to use technology like standardization. And we used that and incorporated that to be able to find an equivalent metric so that across all of those 4 C's we know, color, cut, clarity, carat, that we could find a way to make them all unique. And we built out physical coins and bars that we can prove through this patented process have the same value. So just like if you have 2 gold coins, you can know based on the purity and the weight what the value is based on the spot price. Now you can do the same thing with diamonds.
Let me ask you a little bit, because you kind of went over it quickly. Approval and regulations. What did that look like, Nishiva, with the convincing regulators and that it was okay to do this with an asset?
Well, it was important. So the first thing we had to do was find the appropriate regulators. So not all bodies recognize physical commodities. So we actually sought out and have our regulators as the BMA, the Bermuda Monetary Authority, which also has very progressive and forward-thinking regulation in regards to crypto and digital assets, as well as being well regarded by the SEC. So that was important for us. And they do look into and regularly review, and we are regularly audited as well for having how we have to acquire the diamonds. And in order to do that, actually, we had to first build out the first ever electronic diamond exchange. And so we built that in order to source diamonds. And we source diamonds from over 200 vendors all across the world, as far as India, Antwerp, Tel Aviv, and as close as New York. And we hold all those vendors to abide by ethical sourcing standards, equivalent of the Kimberley process. And that's very important to us. And we get regularly audited to look over those factors, and as well as, in addition to sourcing, how we then produce the commodities. And producing the commodities, to go in a little bit more detail into that, we have to then use this standardization, which we use math and statistics really as the way to refine these commodities. And we use the natural yield curve of how diamonds exist above the Earth's surface. And so then we have a statistical sample size, which we can prove have an equivalent value. And within the
Oh,
commodities, how they're built out, we additionally incorporate a wireless microchip that's embedded in a hard, secure resin. And so the diamonds are locked in this resin with this microchip. And the microchip allows us actually to then tie a blockchain token to that chip. And it allows for the commodity and the integration to be trustless. So where certain other tokenization projects have to be regularly audited, and there's always that kind of skepticism sometimes of actual stability and actual trust, we have a trustless commodity that's built out. So it's very important to us. But then using that microchip, we also tie other layers of security. So the placement of the diamonds in conjunction with these other little micro dots all make for a unique fingerprint in each coin and bar. But then we also tie in the certifications, and we use certifications from two of the most premier diamond and gemological labs to remove that element. Not everybody needs to be a diamond expert anymore to participate in the diamond market, but you can still know exactly what you have in each coin and bar, and you have that certification tied to the token with the provenance, so that you can know and trade these actively.
but you actually started this 5 years ago, and you had to build a digital exchange for diamonds. That was your first step.
That's correct. So it was to build out and source, because in order to launch the coins, we needed to acquire a large amount of diamonds. And that was the initial process. So in order to do that, we created this exchange and began sourcing and acquiring diamonds in order to acquire a large enough sample size to set, no pun intended, but kind of funnily enough, the Diamond Standard.
But it seems to me like this is a long-term vision, because that in itself was the first step, and that's a massive step to create an entire exchange for diamonds, and to go then further into the tokenizing of the assets is another huge leap. So your long-term vision must have been fairly defined.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is our founder and CEO, Cormac Kenny, has put in place these building blocks. And each step we continue to try and progress and build on top of elements we need in place. And so the first was getting those patents and regulatory approvals in place. Then we really needed to have the diamond exchange in place. Then we were able to launch the coins and the bars, and continuing out what we're doing now with having that commodity in place, we've continued on to build and scale. There's now an available diamond index on Bloomberg and Refinitiv where we can check the diamond commodity price. In addition to that, we actually have an investment fund that allows for institutional investment as well as IRA eligible contributions to invest. Recently, we've been approved by the CFTC for futures and options, which are under development. And we
Wow.
are working to launch an ETF as well as international exchange traded product vehicles. So these all build on top of each other. And one of the most exciting things we're getting ready to launch is kind of a new element to expand that tokenization and that blockchain incorporation. And it's going to be called Diamond Standard Carats. And what Diamond Standard Carats are going to offer is a fractionalization element to the Diamond Standard coin or bar. And so for the first time now, with a coin standing roughly at about $5,000 in value and a bar at $50,000 in value, those are large investments for some. And to further democratize and broaden our community and exposure, we're allowing for this fractionalized token now to be incorporated, so that a coin or a bar could then be digitized into these carats at a 5,000 to 1 ratio for a coin. So you have a much smaller unit. But in addition and beyond just the investment element for fractionalization, we really think there's going to be another use case which we're really excited about, which is broadly helped by Hedera. And the functionality of Hedera, the reliability, and the predictable and efficiency of the low gas costs help us to be very effective as a payment processing alternative. So we have a commodity token that is going to stand outside of fiat currencies that we believe can have broad adoption in emerging markets and countries, and as well as developing nations or nations that also want to support the diamond industry, which is important to their economies. Over 10 million people actually are dependent and are beneficial from support of the diamond industry.
Wow, that's it reminds me of many people building payment systems based on gold and silver. And Fredo, you seem to be a little bit excited over the patent and regulatory issues that Nashiva was speaking about. I wonder if you'd like to get in on that part of the conversation.
Yeah, I found it interesting how you guys approach this. So it's almost as if you're creating a weight and standard of not just a single diamond, but almost like a unit of diamond worth. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's very fair to say. So one of the problems, or not really problems, one of the distinctions with diamonds is that you could have two 1-carat diamonds, but the values might differ greatly. And equally with that, diamonds sometimes offer very little liquidity. So there are investment grade diamonds. You might have even seen on the news with Sotheby's or Christie's where some diamonds are setting all-time records at auctions. But those auctions have, very limited or uncertain prices for determining what that might be valued for and close at auction. And then there's also buyer's fees and seller's fees. And what we're trying to do is not really target that audience, but bring diamonds to a much more clear, transparent, and efficient way for people to trade them, much more kind of in the financial realm or in the commodity space, where with gold, and to your point, Elisabeth, gold and silver, where you could simply refine to a purity and a weight. Now with diamonds, you can do that. And so, for example, in a diamond coin, you usually see about 8 to 9 diamonds to represent that statistical necessity. And we have as our standardization that statistical yield curve. So we have to set at least a minimum of 99% accuracy to that statistical sample.
Well, Eric Grant under that C14 banner is very astute and knowledgeable about the payment structures of cryptocurrencies and such. I wonder if you hear anything that you'd like to discuss, Eric.
Enjoyed hearing about bringing diamonds to this market. I think it's an exciting opportunity and a really cool project. I know from firsthand experience how difficult working through all the regulatory challenges of setting up any type of cryptocurrency business or digital asset business, for lack of a better word, is. So I applaud you all on your success so far.
Yeah, that's quite a heavy lift, and with all of the things that you're adding on to the business, it's just kind of a full picture.
I've been sitting over here and I've been looking at both of your websites and really just sitting back and listening. And these are the things I think I've been listening for this entire time that we've been in this space. And when it comes to the idea, my mind is spinning around the opportunities to work with a permissionless way to redefine these commodities that don't have those, transparent, trustless systems. Like, it's just not here. And I've seen a lot of people working with gold. And so I went and I compared it with a couple of the different models that I'd seen. And I'm really wanting to know more about the fractionalized part as well as the token. how does the token, can you talk a little bit about the tokenomics behind the way that you're putting this out?
Certainly, happy to. And that's one of the things that is really going to be a game changer, I think. And it is, in a way, I like to kind of compare it back to exactly how the monetary system used to be and was developed even by the founding fathers in the United States, where you could convert a silver dollar into a piece of script or payment currency. And equally, you could convert it back into a silver dollar if you didn't want to hold that piece of paper. So very similarly to that old gold and silver standard, the Diamond Standard and the exchange is going to work where if you have one Diamond Standard coin, there's an associated token with that. And if you choose to, any holder of that Diamond Standard coin could then choose to burn that token and convert it solely into the digital Diamond Standard carats. And those carats, you obviously have a much higher quantity of. You know, if it's one coin, you're going to convert into 5,000 carats, and you'd be able to use those or trade those or hold those digitally. Or even from another investor, if they want to build or acquire a position slowly in these carats, they could then acquire enough and convert out of the digital back into a physical Diamond Standard coin.
So if I'm getting this right, essentially, like you said, you've acquired a large supply of diamonds. And so you will be basing the carats that they're burning, these digital carats. So those, and I'm going to be careful about my terminology here. I know you guys have worked on the patents and the way that, and you're working with regulators and creating that. So hopefully you can explain this the way that it should be, because this is something that we've all kind of tried to wrap our head around. How do we do this and it be accepted? So this is really mind blowing. So if they have these carats, do you hold that same amount of carats in diamonds, or what is the value of the digital carats as compared to the amount of carats that you hold in the company? Is that how that's going to work? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It is a little tricky with some of the terminology, so I can completely sympathize with that.
Hi, Kat Jordan here, colleague of the Shivas. We've been on the Diamond Standard project the last 2 years. And I think what is very unique about what we've done here is these commodities, we have essentially current day 2 ways that you can have ownership of these commodities. One of those ways is our vaulting or managed custody. So in terms of the vaulting and managed custody route, this is going to be where the trading, as Nashiva spoke about, the carats, and the future products that we're launching, that ecosystem. Additionally, we have, people who take this physically for self-custody, more as a precious bullion, self-storage. But in the realm of that custody route, what we're going to have is we are going to have Diamond Standard coins and bars in the custody vault, which will be the ecosystem and the backing for the carats. So there will not be more carats in the ecosystem than the vault can support or back, which I think is, a huge part of our regulator oversight, is that security of that almost 1-to-1 ratio of one coin, 5,000 carats. Not much more can exist outside of that, right?
The vault itself is regulated and audited, so people have trust in that when you say you're holding these carats, both digitally and in a physical sense, but they can also take delivery of those physical bars of diamonds. That's really what you're talking about in terms of the trust of the project itself. I mean, you can say I'm going to buy from anybody, but if because you're regulated and audited and under the Securities Exchange Act and things like that, that builds a trust that hasn't been seen. I think that's what Altmom was trying to say. There's a lot of projects that portend to do this, but that really isn't what they're actually doing.
So what is key to this is the spot price of that Diamond Standard coin. Currently, that spot price is trading on Bloomberg. So in this example, if a Diamond Standard coin, is 5,000 US dollars, each carat would be trading at $1. So it will be fungibly trading at the ratio of where the spot is to carats.
One more question. So you're taking in the spot trade for the coin, and then you're taking in the vault, I guess the regulated vault for the price of the burning mechanism from the coin to the carats to the actual physical commodity. And in between, you have a essentially a way to track and hold a place for that commodity.
And that's exactly it. So that's part of the benefit of the build out of how the commodity works and having that all tied together with the token associated to it, and then that burning and conversion mechanism. So that's where the ratio will always exist. And with some of these others where we've become a little bit concerned with certain stable coins not being so stable, that's not an issue for Diamond Standard commodities or Diamond Standard carats.
I took note. Thank you for explaining it so deeply. Go ahead, Elizabeth. Sorry.
That was nicely put, Nishiva. And that really is so. And is this these collateralized assets and such? Are they on chain? Is that the transparency you speak of, or is this available for members of your exchange only, or how does that work?
So Diamond Standard carats are launching later this year. Currently, the commodities are on chain and can be traded via the Diamond Standard spot market. And that's for trading of the Diamond Standard coins, built out on Hedera and multiple levels of support for that. You know, the token service, the smart contract service. And the other benefit we have as far as our regulation is the auditing and the audit log that we use.
And you're using EVM compatible smart contracts or the built-in Hedera mechanism?
The built-in Hedera mechanism.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's great.
That's bananas. Elizabeth, come on. We have the Diamond Standard launching on Hedera. That's bananas. Like,
I think it is bananas. When you say that you're using the Hedera token service, that means to me, and you're not doing an EVM compatible smart contract, in my mind, and Jim Nasser may be able to jump in here too because he's a software developer. That means it really is built on Hedera. It's a pure Hedera environment.
That sounds like a rhetorical question, but yes, that one sounds like it. Sounds exciting. Sounds like you folks are using, perhaps I'm assuming you have HCS in your stack as well, and making some API calls to it.
And we have a community member, Trillion Capital. Do you have a question or comment for our discussion?
Yes, thanks for having me up today, guys. So I'd just like to commend Mr. Kinney on the massive achievements he's had thus far. We've been following the projects extensively since its inception. We recently just finally purchased our first few coins. We plan on accumulating more. We are extremely fascinated. I myself have followed the diamond sector as a whole, and have my own personal collection. So to see this standardization of the asset class and its true characteristics and benefits and unique properties of a store of value, especially given the scarcity as well as the illiquidity of the markets, I just think it solves so many different problems simultaneously, as well as, yes, the ability to purchase with USDC and what have you. I just think, to me, it's the most fascinating thing I've come across in a long time. And I'm just really, really intrigued as to what the future holds, as well as the ETF launch. Anxiously awaiting that to recommend it to research clients.
Which ETF are we talking about here?
We do have a Diamond Standard ETF under development, so that is going to be one of the things we can all look forward to together.
Well, Nishiva, that must be interesting for you to get feedback from an actual holder.
Yeah, thank you so much for your comments and your support. And we really do appreciate you coming out to participate and following along with the project. It has been a long time, but it's flying by, and we really are excited every day with what we are working on. The team continues to grow, and we really are just so excited to, just like you said, kind of be impacting both the diamond industry and really kind of making a little difference. I think there's a lot of elements where we are looking at, and personally, I've been exploring different ways as far as the utilization for some of the payment processing use cases and some of the secondary impacts that can have on all of these supply chains and people that are participants in the global natural diamond ecosystem.
Yeah, sorry to interject here, guys. I was kind of going somewhere with with that. So I was just wanted to say that the ETF, yes, of course, it is certainly not rolled out yet. I'm just saying that the unique ability to purchase both using USDC, as well as on the other side of the fence, if you will, upon a traditional, in a Roth account, or in Canada here, a tax-free savings account ability to also participate, also presents some really unique characteristics. And just for those that are listening that perhaps haven't purchased one themselves, I was really fascinated with the prospect that upon buying one, these are not pre-assembled coins and pucks. When you purchase it, they actually go out into the open market and source them upon the purchase. So again, just really unique structure, and especially as a preservation of wealth, the gold and silver bugs, if you will, this provides just an alternate diversification route that was just previously not even thinkable in the traditional portfolio sense. So again, just really crediting you guys where it's due, and thanks so much, guys. We really look forward. And again, the Bit Carbon opens up doors. Perhaps the bricks are perhaps for the larger investors, pension funds, what have you. But the Bit Carbon rollout, again, from top to bottom, large to small, traditional finance or through blockchain, these doors are opening at such a rapid pace that, again, its evolution is almost cemented, over time here. And the longer term time horizon investors such as ourselves really look forward to its successful rollout across all dimensions. So just wanted to say thanks again, guys.
You caught me by surprise when you said ETF there. That is what I want to hear. That is what you want to hear when you have a company coming into a space that has something that can change the world, that has something that is creating a standardization for these commodities. You want to hear that they have that on their roadmap. You want to hear that they are meeting the needs to move this space forward so that the people behind can follow through. So I've got a list of people that are looking at ETFs or working or have it in the plans, or wherever you are on that map, because I know it's also sensitive out here. But the fact that you guys are looking at that and could probably achieve it, right? We need this one to go through with BlackRock, and it's a big deal. So thank you. Just thank you, Fredo.
Yeah, I found it really interesting that you guys actually buy the diamonds when somebody places an order, and then you like assemble this commodity for them. I understand what you guys are talking about in terms of facets and the statistical worth of a diamond, and then commoditizing that. But I wanted to see if you guys can give us a little bit more insight into it. So I know diamonds come in different grades, right? You can go everything from like the hyper high end that you were talking about, they get auctioned off, and then you have industrial applications because of the hardness of them, right? But how do you guys find the right worth content for the creation of one of these bars?
Well, that's the impressive thing, and it really gets into a little bit of quantitative computing, and that's where our background and our founder's background come into it, as well as building out electronic trading systems. Coming from Carnegie Mellon, he had an extensive education in being able to do that and succeed in doing that in multiple avenues. And so the way that we have to go about doing that is, the benefit is there's actually 16 million different computations or different combinations that we can use to then create across those factors of color, cut, and clarity. Because even within those, you've probably heard some of the funny terms around SI1 and VS2. So you have those as multiple characteristics too. So when you tie those in combination across all of those, what we have to use is this optimization process. And the optimization process then allows us to go to the Diamond Exchange and look across all of these different combinations. And we can then buy and say, do we need this diamond versus that, or the other one versus another. And then we can determine which ones we need to satisfy that statistical equation and then acquire them very efficiently.
Okay, so now I got a follow-up question, and this one might be a little bit uncomfortable. So I come from a banking background and a risk analysis basis, right? What you just described to me, and I understand the regulatory aspect of where you're doing it from, but what you just described to me within the US market is a security. You're taking packaged commodities and then you're adjusting the risk based on the stack and then you're getting through it. Have you guys had any pushback within the US?
No pushback in the US, and we actually have been recognized as a commodity, and we hold a commodity token. So that's one of the benefits, and even in some of the conversations, we're actually quite comfortable and quite proud of that because we are not concerned about stablecoin conversations. We have been recognized by multiple regulatory bodies, and the commodity token has been recognized, as well as the Diamond Standard bar, as being very equivalent to a good for delivery bar, just like a gold ore bar.
You know, Dr. Lehman Baird was graduated with his PhD from Carnegie Mellon. Is your founder also a mathematician?
Yes, he went to Carnegie Mellon and has a background in computer science.
Computer science, I see. Interesting. Jerry, you want to have any comment or questions for our guests?
No, I was following it carefully and thinking of the juxtaposition between what Diamond Standard are doing and what Fredo's doing with vehicles. So, really interesting conversation. Thank you.
Yes, Fredo is working on he has a company called Brash Labs, which is launching at Hello Future Live, which we're doing in October in the Arts District. He's a very big sponsor of the event, and would you like to let Diamond Standard know about your project, Fredo?
Yeah, so we're not doing tokenization. And the reason being for when you have an asset that's this large, right? Cars tend to be people's secondary assets. So what we're looking to do is actually use NFC chips with resin, like you guys are doing. But we want to be able to tag monetary transactions for vehicles on the blockchain so that we can create a higher grade level of data for those vehicles as they get older. And then in California specifically, you have the 2030 timeline where internal combustion engines are going to no longer be allowed. So that's how we're looking at it. But I think you guys have, first of all, it's a fantastic idea, but the way you've commodified it is really impressive, right? And then the difference for us, we're using the tech stack more as a way to augment the asset and the information of the asset, while you guys created essentially a new asset class.
That's very interesting, and I do appreciate the subtle differences and the nuance. I commend the project. That sounds fantastic.
You know, I've spoken to a couple of people now who are using NFC chips, and I really do think that it's going to be something that has to be adjusted per industry, because each industry has its own regulatory aspects, and then its quirks in the back end of how like it ties into the ERP systems and the logistics of that specific little regulatory area, right? Market.
Mm-hmm. I also see, Jerry, that we've talked before about with Fredo too about supply chain and parts and things like that, and following. You mentioned before about airplane parts being needed to be tracked because of the lifespan of the part and things like that. And I think tokenization and of assets, Diamond Standard, you've done quite a big job of commoditizing it. And really the long roadmap. But I think in general, the tokenization of assets is just really, we're just getting started with it. And because Diamond Standard, you've done it in a thoughtful business manner, you're an example for other projects to look to and emulate, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's something where again, going back to kind of the thoughtfulness, the build out, and that's one of the unique elements too, is it's all incorporated together. And to be honest, this project couldn't exist, if you take a time machine back a handful of years ago, because we needed the advent of a lot of technology to be able to incorporate and tie it all together with how it's executed.
What you said, Nishiva, is quite important, because in the last 18 months, 2 years, the Hedera ecosystem has built so many tools that were not available to us 3 years ago. And the tech stack is maturing, and it's much easier. 2 years ago, to do a marketplace, an NFT marketplace, was an exercise in development that took months and months and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And today that's not the case. So I wonder, when you're building on Hedera, you selected Hedera obviously after some thoughtful research into other technology layer ones. What was it about Hedera that led you to say yes? Because you're full in on the development of Hedera with using the native processes.
We are, and there was a number of factors that went into the decision for Hedera. One of the strongly being the council-based governance model. We are an institutional product, but as well as an individual product. So having that council-based governance product was something we really appreciated, as well as the security, the reliability. And one of the bigger things is the gas fees. Getting back to that is, that aspect of having predictable, low-cost efficiency. All of those were key factors into why Hedera just seemed like a perfect match.
Yeah, I often say it's the predictability of the fee itself that a business actually needs. You can't really think of, regardless of the price. The price of HBAR, of course, is affordable, but even if it was on par with an Ethereum fee, at least a business, and I'm happy it's not, believe me, but a business could at least build that into their expenses. Without that predictability of the fee being tied to the dollar as opposed to the fluctuating market of the coin, that gives a business, okay, I know I can predict how much this is going to cost me to produce this XYZ product. And a business has to be able to know what it is going to cost them to make that product.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And seeing certain other projects on other chains trying to build in that variability, I'm not sure how it's quite possible, especially with some of the fluctuations we've seen. Obviously, there's been adjustments across, Ethereum and other chains to try and address it. But that's one of the things that really sets Hedera apart.
And yes, Jerry.
I was just sitting here reflecting on that. Look at us. Are we growing up quickly or what? I mean, a year ago, I know this is a theme of yours, Elisabeth,
Yes.
as well, but a year ago, we'd have been hard pressed to find a conversation that didn't revolve around bored apes or shoot 'em up games.
Jerry, don't forget Doge.
And here we are with Fredo with what he's doing, Diamond Standard with what they're doing, Jim with all of the stuff that he's doing. It's just so exciting each week to come on and hear of these real world solutions to that could not have been executed until really very recently, and that frankly are ludicrous to try on any other chain other than Hedera. And while I'm on, Fredo, I owe you a conversation about Hello Future Live, and I was in a meeting last weekend with a very high-profile car collector who wants to specifically meet you there about your project. So I'll be in touch on that one. And just great. All of these real use cases. Apologies to those people I should have been speaking to recently. We've been a bit overwhelmed with the hackathon, but I'm back in real life again.
Well, just so Nishiva and Kat, you understand the two people in the room that you haven't really had a chance to, Jerry and Sarah on Sun Gazers. They are the #1 winner. They won the overall hackathon that Hedera recently had. They were the first prize winners with their project called Headstone, and it's really a great project, and we applaud them because not only are they wonderful people and longtime community members, but the fact that a community member won the hackathon instead of some out in the past, maybe an outside entity has come in, won the hackathon, take the money and run. We're not letting Jerry and Sarah run with the money. They're going to stay right here in the community.
You bet, we sure are. Elisabeth, would it be helpful for me just to describe the hackathon process for a couple of moments?
Yes, absolutely.
So I wish we would stop including the word hack and hash in things. It just reinforces the belief that we're a den of thieves. But anyway, that's what they call it, a hackathon. It's been a grueling month. There were 3 strands: one DeFi, one sustainability, and one tokenize the future, and it was the latter one that we were in. I think one of the big advantages of taking part was the ability to receive some pretty serious mentorship from people at Swirls and HBAR Foundation. And also to augment our team. We have lots of experience in big projects, but absolutely no coding ability. And so at the very first opening ceremony, we were able to sort of state what our needs for the team were, and we were approached by some fantastic people who then came on board and helped us win both the strand of Tokenize the Future and, as you say, the whole overall thing out of 92 teams, I think it was in the end. The whole process helped us think in different ways. If you have the opportunity to take part in one of these, I would highly recommend it, because it does alter your thinking, helps very much with the startup process. One of the things that we learnt was go right back to school days, where they exhorted you to answer the question. And we studied the questions day after day after day, and constantly saying, okay, are we fulfilling the requirements here? And I think also one of the great things particularly about winning, but participating as well, is the validation, the feedback that you get that reassures you that you're on the right track. And just very brief description, we have taken the premise that there is a huge industry there looking into their family trees and genealogy, and paper records are being preserved by being digitized, but it's a long process and many have been lost along the way. But graves are subject to war, fire, flood, storms, landslides. Urban development is a big thing these days, and pure neglect. But of course, the blockchain, the hash graph, is there forever, and so we're on a massive project to create 3-dimensional models of pretty much every grave and memorial in the world. So it's a big undertaking, and I hope I live long enough to finish it. But we're using it to onboard people who are Web 2 literate, but not in any way Web 3 literate, so that they can use our 3D models to effectively build their own memorial garden to their family, with 3D models brought in from all the way around the world. And we're going about this picking up on the concept of play to earn. We call this capture to earn, where either H-barbarians or people who are keen on the whole family tree subject can capture, and each 3D model will be enshrined as an NFT, and thereafter they will earn from any sales of those NFTs. which is one of the delights of smart contracts that allows all this to happen without any form of administration going on. It just happens automatically, and they can earn forever more. Yeah, that's a quick rundown. Thank you for the opportunity, Elizabeth.
Well, I think it's really appropriate that you gave us the update on your project and our tokenizing of asset discussion here. So I'm really thrilled for you both, and we can't wait to meet you in October. Go ahead, Fredo.
I wanted to thank you guys. I do have news around the conversation that Jim mentioned to me about aviation and speaking there. I went out and spoke to an executive, so we're working on building a proprietary solution to address a specific need for that company. Yeah, I can't wait to speak to Jim.
You guys just keep showing up. And because of that, people like the Diamond Standard over here are able to make a case to their investors that this is something that people want, because they have your voices out here saying, hey, listen, we want to see what's happening with the financial industry. We want to see our products go into the future. We want to take an opportunity to, expand. You have a global industry like the diamond industry, and there's a lot of really, really scary things there, right? There's also a lot of celebration. I was thinking back, and I was just thinking about the diamond, kind of like the history of diamonds, right? The way that they've evolved, and I can't think of anything. I mean, I guess when they came out with the diamond rings for engagements, that was probably the last historical moment for diamonds. I'm not super familiar on all of the history, but I do know that it was almost like a marketing or a pivotal move where they were able to really bring attention back to the diamonds. And
I think the work that's being done, specifically with you, Nishiva, and the Diamond Standard, is very important to the entire ecosystem. And when you were talking about the tokenomics, I just went to, I'm telling everybody, when the DLT Science Foundation offers you the opportunity to go online to one of their classes to learn something, I went the other day and spent an hour and a half being schooled in tokenomics by some very intelligent, informed instructors. And those students that go there, I'm sure, pay a whole lot of money for that. And it's available to us. Of course, the DLT Foundation is the newest arm of the University College London that is supporting scientific grants in the Hedera community. So I was blown away with the presentation, and I got so much value out of it. So I really suggest that you follow them. And if they have a course, even if it's not something that you specifically want, the participation, and I think that's what you were speaking to, Mom, also, is participation is the key in creating the Web3 that we want. A lot of times in other eras in the history, we have not had the hands-on chance to form what we would like, what a community would like to see happen. And by supporting and participating in events like the Spaces or Hello Future Live, or just supporting a project by buying their wares or following them, retweeting them, it's really important. I know from the DLT Foundation, they were very encouraged by all the retweets and the comments and everything. And everybody feels good when people participate. So just one question before we end our spaces soon, Nishiva, is a lot of people, a lot of projects and businesses, once they do start, tokenizing assets, and because of liquidity pools and digitizing tokens and such, then the next step is that they want to start lending and borrowing. Is that anything down the roadmap that you see happening?
I am going to have to give a subtle wink on that one and keep that under wraps for what might come.
Okay.
I I have one more thing after you as well, Elizabeth.
Okay, no, that was one of the things that was brought up at the masterclass at the DLT Science Foundation. So I just thought I'd ask. Go ahead.
And for me, one, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thanks for tagging me on Instagram. People tag me every now and then, and that was actually the first story that I've shared on Instagram in about 6 months because head down focused. And it's important. When I started looking a little bit last week, it's really important that people like you and the other people out here that are doing things that are going to make a difference. Every tiny little bit matters.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you hopefully out in LA. I have a million people that I'm sitting here thinking, man, wait till I tell them about this. Wait till they know. Wait till I tell them about this. It's yeah, this is gonna be fun.
One of the things I will tell you, Diamond Standard, is that AltMom is founder of the New Moon Foundation, and she's putting an NFT on the dark side of the moon with Bit Basil and Starlink and
Thanks, Blue, and yeah.
So that and working with the Smithsonian, and that's very exciting because we really need the moon in our life in many ways. And of course, I don't know, Nishiva, if you're aware that Jim Nasser is the CEO of Acor, and they are leading the charge in updating our healthcare systems, and it's so important to do that too. So we had a great room, and Eric King Solomon's in love with you, and so am I. And I'm so glad that you came. And Trillian, thanks for participating in the call. I really appreciate you coming and speaking. I always encourage anybody who wants to come and speak to come and speak. So we're almost at the top of the hour, but Nishiva or give you the opportunity to have final words before we close out the space.
Yeah, we just wanted to take a quick second. This has been amazing. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity. It's been a fantastic room, and I really just want to thank everybody. This has been great.
Exactly. Great company, great conversation. We survived our first Twitter space live. So we'll definitely be doing a lot more and participating just to hear about all the cool projects and updates on them. So thanks everyone again.
Can't wait for the next one.
So we can follow you on Twitter at Diamond Standard. You can just tap the icon.
DiamondStandard.co. Yep.
That's DiamondStandard.co. And they're on all the socials too. And I'm sure if anybody has any questions, they can reply to one of their tweets or DM them. And really, really great time. And there's more questions that need to be asked. But okay, so we're going to end this space. And really appreciate you coming, Nishiva and Kat. And don't be strangers. Now that you're well versed in how to do a spaces, you can always come and speak on any of our spaces that we have every Thursday at 2 Pacific and 5 Eastern. So look for more goodness every day. And we'll end the space as we always do with Hello Future. Thanks, everybody.
Hello, Future.
Hello, Future.
Hello.
Hello, Future.
Yeah, congrats on your first mover advantage, guys. I'm sure it'll pay off. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Hello, Future. Ending the space.